Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. My name is Deb McBride, and I am broadcasting from beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is October 11th, 2020. And lots to talk about, lots and lots and lots to talk about. So it's been a fascinating few days. It's been an intense few days. It's been a powerful few days since Pluto went direct last Sunday, the last time we met here on the Golden Astrologer Podcast. And, Mars met with Pluto on Friday. And, Pluto is stationing, so it's not really moved direct yet, but Mars came in and crashed into it. So there have been a lot of stirrings. So on one level, I felt energized on Friday. I felt that there was a lot of energy and a lot of good things. On another level, there's a lot of anger and nastiness and stuff hanging in the air that I feel, and problems and stupidity, and might as well throw that one in there, stupidity. And, there's so much going on right now astrologically in the stars in October. And I really feel that it is a very important time for everyone, and not a time to take lightly, but also not a time to put your head in the sand or be depressed the whole month. You've got to keep moving with the energy, and you've got to, this is a highly transformational month. You've got to keep transforming. And sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to be transformative. And, this Mars-Pluto, I felt was profoundly stirring in many ways, and then, profoundly important, because Mars, this is the second time Mars is squaring Pluto, and the last time won't be for a while, but it's because Mars is retrograde, and it's doing its thing, and it's going back across to square those Capricorn planets. And so while it's going backwards squaring the Capricorn planets, opposite Mars is the Sun, and the Sun is squaring the Capricorn planets, but from the whole other end of the zodiac, because the Sun is in Libra, and this is that Libra time of year. So, we have another 11 days or so of Libra before we go into Scorpio. And so the Sun is starting to square Jupiter now, or it did this morning. The Sun squared Jupiter. And squares are challenging aspects, and they force us to do things, and they force us to get connected to what's been bugging us, or what's been challenging us, or what's been, what is a challenge to us. And, with Mars squaring Pluto on Friday, and then the Sun squaring Jupiter today, it's been intense. I think it's been intense because Mars, Jupiter's a friendly planet. We like Jupiter, and the Sun is beautiful and the life force. But when it starts getting into the entire, round of Capricorn planets, the Sun squares Jupiter, and then the next thing that's going to happen is, the Sun is going to square Saturn, and it's going to square Pluto, and it's going to, it's doing its rounds. And one of the things that we have to be aware of, is that each time these challenges happen, we're reaching another layer of what is uncovering this story of this year. So, the Sun squared Pluto Friday. The Sun squared Jupiter today. And it's going to go into a new moon at the end of the week. And the Sun highlights things and gives us enlightenment and is our life force. But it's going to square Pluto on Thursday. So we had Mars square Pluto on Friday. This coming Thursday, the 15th, the Sun is going to square Pluto. And the Sun is going to square Pluto, and then we're going to have this new moon at 23 degrees Libra on Friday afternoon, which means the moon is going to square Pluto. So this essentially is the Sun and the moon are going to be squaring Pluto. And then they're going to square, Saturn, and they're going to square, but they're squaring Pluto, but they've been doing their whole round of Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto. And so we have more fun and games coming. And so this has been, every time you think you're going to get a break, something else comes. And so we have to stay on top of it. And this is another big, busy week. So today the sun squares Jupiter. And what that means is it challenges Jupiter, the sun, the life force, challenges the force of, optimism and how we experience abundance and how we experience expansion and, sometimes overindulgence. Jupiter's a bit of an overindulgent one. And then the sun is going to oppose Mars on Tuesday the 13th. So the sun is busy this week. And as it revs up to that new moon, and we're in the dark of the moon, it's going to be new moon's 23 degrees Libra, which is completely squaring those Capricorn planets. So as each layer happens, as the sun squares Jupiter, and then it opposes Mars, which is in Aries, and then it's going to square Pluto, and then, eventually it's going to square Saturn. So between now and next Sunday, the sun is going to have hit all of those planets. And we knew this was going to happen. We knew that once the sun went into a cardinal sign like Libra, it was going to start hitting all those Capricorn planets. And this is something we all have to get through. And this is something very, very profound and important. And in the meantime, Mars is doing the same thing from the other side of the zodiac. So we have to recognize that we're going to be challenged this week. And we are being challenged, and we are regularly being challenged. And, quite frankly, it's exhausting. You want to find the good in your life, and you want to find the positive in your life. And things aren't, always pointing in that direction. We are experiencing a lot of exhaustion just because there's so much going on in the heavens. Every day, it's something else. Every day, there's another aspect. And every week there's something big that we have to contend with. And frankly, we're all quite zapped from this. And if, once in a while, it's challenging. We're all going through our own dynamic, whether it's got to do with the events of this year globally, as you know, or personally. There's a lot going on. And one of the things that, we have to try to remain is positive and open and trusting. And remember what I said about Jupiter and Saturn last week. Here they are. They're both direct, and now Pluto's direct. And we have to really get this notion of trying to stay optimistic in the face of there not being any reason to be optimistic. And every day there's another aspect that makes us feel like we want to go back to bed. Once in a while, you hear something really bad happen in the middle of this year. And, it's unfortunate. Once in a while, there have been things that I think everyone has been touched by something this year. Everyone. And if you lost your job because of COVID, or you have less money because of COVID, or something else happened, there are things that are great, things we have to be having gratitude for and grateful for. But at the same time, there are things that we have to be wary of and just aware of the balance of life. And it's unfair. A lot of it's unfair. A lot of things, we had something here happen this weekend that where I live that was very unfair and shocking and sad. And what can I say except that, in this wild unknown year, we're going to continue to have these things, and we're going to continue to have, I thank my lucky stars. I thank the universe. I'm grateful that I've been living through this relatively well, and there are things around me that are, I'm very fortunate. But once in a while, something's going to happen. And so when we start, living through these things, oh yeah, sure, they make us stronger. That what does not kill us makes us strong. But it's really important for us to stay on top of our own consciousness. I cannot stress enough the necessary experience of remaining sort of on one hand neutral and resting our confidence and our awareness in the unknown. And why I say that is because tomorrow we don't know what's going to happen. And so we have to live in the moment. Every moment is precious. And, I've been realizing this more and more. It's October. It's October 11th in the United States. It's Columbus Day weekend. It's October 11th already. And we've been living in this COVID crisis since like February. And my goodness, it shows no signs of really letting up. And we still don't know things. And there's still a lot to learn and experience. And in life, generally, there's a lot to learn that we think we know and we don't. And I can't stress enough how important it is to stay in the moment and be grateful for every moment that you have. Because it is so important to appreciate this moment because there's a lot to be grateful for. And I practice that regularly, but I'm always reminded of it. So every week I get to Wednesday and I go, oh my God, it's Wednesday. It's Thursday. How can this be already? And like here it is, it's Sunday and it's the end of the weekend. Well, in the United States, tomorrow's a holiday, and in Canada, it's a holiday. But I sit here and I go, oh my God, how did it get to be another week? How did this happen? And it's the truth. I don't understand. But I really believe that these things have to do with our perception and that we need to maintain a state of gratitude, even in the face of some difficult things. And if you have your health and your life and your children and your family and your cat and your dog and your backyard and your car's running and your health is good and all that, and you have a lot to be grateful for. Some things are out of our control. And so we just that's why, life is fragile. It's strong and it's fragile at the same time. So into this week, we have, Sun squares Jupiter today. So it makes us aware. Jupiter's awareness, Jupiter's philosophy, its belief, its luck, its fortune, but it's also an awareness in its philosophy. And right now, you may have to rely on your philosophy in some ways because it's got to get you through some stuff. And in an optimistic way, you've got to really be aware of what you believe in and question what you believe in, and does it work for you or does it not work for you anymore, and where do you need to shift that belief system. Tomorrow, Jupiter and Neptune in 3:11 a.m. Eastern Time. Jupiter and Neptune make a lovely aspect to one another, as they have been for a while, and Jupiter and Neptune are making this last lovely aspect to one another, and it's helps us again with our philosophy and our beliefs and what we think we believe in, what's important, and staying aware and staying intuitive and staying connected to our own sense of consciousness. That's tomorrow. And Mercury and Venus talk sweetly to each other tomorrow too. But Tuesday, Mercury goes retrograde. And so it retrogrades, it retrogrades in Scorpio. And that's intense. That's an intensity. And the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, on Tuesday evening, 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time, that is really something that is, reminding us over these last few weeks. So we're going to go back over some things over the last few weeks and how we are completely revisiting things that we need to revisit, and why do we need to revisit them, and our beliefs. And our, Mercury is somewhat in beliefs too, especially when it's in Scorpio. It's like, what am I thinking? It's deep thinking, it's deep thoughts, it's deep intensity. So Mercury goes retrograde on Tuesday the 13th and stays retrograde till Election Day, the day it goes direct, November 3rd for the United States. And the same day, the Sun opposes Mars. So Mars, whenever it goes retrograde, it is close to the Earth. And sometimes you can see Mars, very close. And I had a friend tell me the other day that she saw Mars, and it was all orangey in the sky. And it's closer to the Earth now, so it's easier to see at night. And when planets go retrograde, they often are closer to the Earth. And so sometime during the Mars retrograde, it gets an opposition from the Sun. And inevitably, every time there's a Mars retrograde, this is one of the things that happens, because Mars can only go so far away from the Sun, and they are in opposite signs, like so far in its opposition to the Sun, before it has to turn around and go retrograde. So it's the opposition, its relationship to the Sun, that causes Mars to need to do that retrograde dance. So this is it. We've reached the opposition point. So Tuesday's a big day. Sun opposite Mars. Doesn't happen very often. Sun opposite Mars, and then Mercury goes retrograde. Then they're both in the evening Eastern time. So that's a day to pay attention. That's a day to be aware. It's a day to remain, very conscious. And one of the things that I have been reminding people is how to be conscious of their patterns and to get conscious of when they're doing something. And then if you stop being conscious of patterns and you stop being aware of certain things, well, then, one of the things you want to do is shift gears and become more conscious of what the patterns that you have that you see on a regular basis. Now, all of this astrology, moving along, Mars squaring Pluto, the Sun squaring Jupiter, we're getting hit with something almost every day. And this is to raise our awareness and keep us aware. Because if we don't do that, we're going to repeat the same patterns over and over. And I have said this 10,000 times. I teach a class on Saturday mornings. It's mornings my time anyway. And I am very clear, and I have been very clear with my clients, and I am very clear with these people in this class, that it's important to become conscious of how you behave and what your actions you take in the world. Because every time something happens and it's a repeated pattern, you need to get a handle on that. Because if it's something that you don't want, well, then you need to make peace with that and move on and get rid of it. Okay? So, a lot of people are always afraid the other shoe is going to drop. And we all have that to a certain degree, because things will be going along good. Everything's good. And then you think, how can it be this good? How can I be that great? Well, you know what? Thank your lucky stars. Have gratitude. And then you're just expecting that something's going to happen. Oh no, something's going to happen and it's going to wreck this good mood, this good place, this good bliss that I'm feeling. The more you give into that, the more you keep thinking of that, the more that's going to happen. That's a pattern. So you have to just not do that. You have to not do that. And you have to find a way to break that pattern. I use meditation to break those patterns. I advise everyone to use meditation to break those patterns, because it's very possible. So Mercury retrograde is where we go back and review the thoughts, the feelings, the things we did in these last few weeks. And Mercury is going to help us recognize a few things and talk about a few things and be conscious. So, Mercury, again, this is another time of going within. When a planet goes retrograde, we need to go within. So Mercury is the planet of articulation and communication and intelligence and thinking and writing and speaking. And whenever we are experiencing the Mercury retrograde, we are given the chance to review things we've said, things we've thought, things that we have written or have talked about. That's also a little confusion. There's some confusion about stuff. So we have to make sure that when we're reviewing these things, that we're realistic about it, and that we're completely connected to it in the sense that we're getting the message. So Mercury comes back to remind us of stuff. And sometimes when Mercury's retrograde, the truth comes out. But sometimes when Mercury is retrograde, we go back over something and we need to redo it. It's very complicated sometimes too, because things get misconstrued and people don't understand each other and all. But I say when Mercury's in Scorpio, and then it's going to go back into Libra on the 27th of October. So for 2 weeks, it'll be retrograde in Scorpio, then it goes back into Libra. And the heavens, they're mostly ruled by Saturn and Capricorn right now. But Mercury's in Scorpio, which speaks to, Pluto and Mars is retrograde. And Pluto and Mars just talked to each other the other day. So there's a lot of that kind of energy, that intense, deep, powerful, relentless energy. And we need to be aware of that. So then later in the week, on Thursday, we skip along to Thursday, and we've got the sun squaring Pluto. And there is where the light and the dark meet, and they challenge one another. So maybe Thursday, when you're doing your meditation, something will come to light, as often happens with, Pluto. And then there's this new moon at 3:30 p.m. on Friday Eastern time. And so it's kind of a long journey. The moon moves into Libra on Thursday at 1:54 a.m. And it does the meeting up with the sun at 3:30 p.m. on Friday. So the two of them are connected to one another, and they are going to really, look, the sun squares Pluto on Thursday, but that doesn't mean it's like forgotten about it on Friday, because the moon is going to trigger it all over again. And so every Friday is a busy day. Like when I look at my ephemeris calendar, every Friday is chock full of aspects with the moon, because it goes into a cardinal sign and hits all the cardinal planets. So last Friday, which was intense on its own, last Friday was, 2 days ago, the day before yesterday, the moon hit, it was in Cancer and hit everything in opposition. And it squared Mars. And then Mars squared Pluto. So, there you go. It was intense. This Friday, coming up the 16th, we have the new moon, but it's going to be squaring Pluto. And it's going to be squaring Saturn, and it's going to be squaring Jupiter. This is going to go on all day. And since it highlights not just the moon passing over things like it did last Friday and the Friday before, it's the moon with the sun, and that's intense. So there's this intensity that's going to collect along the line of the Capricorn planets. It's just like one right after the other. So yes, there's intensity, there's stuff. And so it's really important to be aware of this, because this is something that we really need to pay attention to. And, one of the things that's important is that we are making progress. And that sometimes when planets like Mars and Mercury go retrograde, and they're both going to be retrograde at the same time, Mercury will be retrograde the entire time. Mars is retrograde, and then, Mercury will go direct, and then Mars will still be retrograde. So here's opportunity to reflect and go back and see things we might not have seen before. So this is the work we have to do now. We have to go back, we have to look, we have to see, we have to refigure, we have to reconfigure and collect our mistakes and just make sure that our ducks are in a row, because that's what Mercury wants us to do. So, and the new moon is, there it is, on Friday, 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. Then things lighten up a bit. I mean, the moon does go into Scorpio on Saturday, wee hours Saturday morning, but, there's nothing like pressing on Saturday. It's next Sunday that things, the sun squares Saturn and Venus opposes Neptune, and things are really, really kind of rocking, But we make sure that we stay on top of these things, okay? And whatever's happening for you, whatever story you are living, the chapters are just flying right now. They're just flying. And it's so important to be aware of what the story is that you're living. The larger story, the collective story, is COVID. It's in the United States, it's the election. And I was talking to someone the other night, and I said, there's this, there's the COVID thing, and that's going on all year. And then there's this election, and this is all really intense. And I thank my lucky stars. I'm in Costa Rica, because it's been a blessing, an incredible blessing to be here. And thank God I'm here, because I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. Every place has its problems. And every place, but right now, right here is the right spot. And so I look at this, these patterns that we're seeing in the sky, and they're nonstop. And basically, we are going nonstop this month, and it's complicated. But what I suggest is, if you feel stuck, and any of this makes you feel stuck, or it makes you feel angry, or just kind of weary, take your break. But also, you got to go deeper. And I learned that this week. One of the things that I learned this week was that if we are not feeling like life is moving forward, and with 2 planets retrograde that are like everyday planets, if they're retrograde, we're going to feel like we're not going forward. You have to go deeper. You have to dig in harder. You have to go deeper. You have to, whatever layer it is you're living on, there's another layer beneath that that's got answers for you. And then there's a layer beneath that has deeper, bigger answers for you. And whatever it is that is giving you pause and like weariness, and I'm tired of this, and it's the same old thing, there's a layer that hasn't revealed itself to you yet. And one would hope that this layer can get, you can get through this layer and be brave about it, be courageous about it, and, check out all the layers beneath the one you're living in. I'm good at digging. So I'm a digger. So if I don't get an answer I want, an answer I need, I dig. So digging we shall go, and each of us is going to be digging a lot. Scorpio is a deep sign, and the sun is not there yet, but Mercury's there, and Mercury's going retrograde in Scorpio, and that means dig for the answers, go deep into yourself, do some deep thinking, some deep writing, some deep processing, and allow this to be something really profound for you. Because, Scorpio is anything. Scorpio is not light and breezy. Scorpio is profound, and you can have a profound experience this month. And so, in our weariness, in our, expecting something to shift and change. Someone said to me the other day, aching for transformation. Yes. If you're aching for transformation, we got to go in and get it. You got to go deep and get it. And sometimes that's not hard to do, and sometimes it's really spooky to do that. It's scary to do that, but it and if it doesn't give you an answer, then you just go deeper. So the planets are busy. The sun is going to touch in these next days. In this next week, the sun will touch each of those Capricorn planets, and so I expect something to be revealed. And if you do meditation, if you do spirit work, I think you'll get your answers. If you pray, you'll, ask for guidance. This is time to get guidance too, and that's a really good thing. And so if you're uncertain and you do believe in something, and I hope you do, because this is a big week for believing in something with Jupiter and Neptune kissing each other. This is a big week to believe in something. Then it's time for you to believe in yourself and take the beliefs that you have. If you're not certain of your beliefs, again, go deeper. Does this work for me? Maybe I don't want to believe this way anymore. Maybe this religious paradigm I've grown up with doesn't work for me anymore. That's something when the sun hits Jupiter, when the sun hits Pluto and Saturn, that's something to look at. Now, back when we were in earlier this year, like back in the sun, when the sun was in Cancer, it opposed all those planets. So this will have something to do with what was going on in July. And then several months before that, when the sun was in Aries, it was hitting those Capricorn planets. And the other thing is that Jupiter and Pluto are going to get ready and start conjuncting again in November. So they're coming close to one another. So they're going to meet first before Jupiter meets Saturn. And so the good news is that some very powerful and positive things are happening as well. So Jupiter to Neptune tomorrow, Yesterday Venus trined Uranus. That was good. The moon and Venus are going to speak to each other on Tuesday. And if we stay with our intuition and we stay with our guidance, our own guidance, and guidance that's valuable, then I think we're going to be able to tackle all of these aspects one by one. Next Monday, the 19th, we have Venus trine Jupiter. That's really beautiful. And we have the Mars square Jupiter, but Venus is trining Jupiter. And that's a really good thing. And then that whole week, Venus is going to talk sweetly to those planets. So, that should be something to look forward to. Okay, so this week, right now, the moon is in Leo. It's going to be in Leo all day tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. It's going void, of course. And that's Eastern time. And then it'll be void all day because it's not going into the sign of Virgo until 1 in the morning on the 13th. And then the 14th, it goes void, of course, it's going to be in Virgo, but it'll be void, of course, 6:47 p.m. Eastern time. And so it's Virgo all day, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, it goes into Libra in the wee hours, 1:54 a.m. Eastern time, and stays in Libra until Saturday. But it goes void in Libra, 6:11 p.m. Friday night. So after we have all that hullabaloo on Friday with the new moon and all the planets, we get a breather and we put our feet up and do something like watch a movie on Friday night or gather with a friend or two if you can. And then Saturday, there's this moon in Scorpio for the rest of the weekend, and it's void 5:43 p.m. on the 18th, Sunday, Eastern time. But the moon is very busy on Sunday, the 18th. So, that's something that you want to pay attention to as well. Good aspects, not hard aspects. So lots of smooth aspects next Sunday. So I think one of the things we want to remember is that we have to have faith in ourselves. We have to have faith in whatever our beliefs have given us. We have to be grateful and have gratitude for the things we do have, even when things go a little sour. And we got to get through this week, and we got to get through these weeks in October. And we just have to go one at a time, one day at a time, and be grateful for every moment and live in every moment and stay focused in the present moment, because the present moment is full of infinite possibilities. And gratitude is the act of receivership. So if you feel you want to bring something into your life, have gratitude that it's already there, even if you don't see it yet. Be grateful. And that's the moral of the story. So it's been a lovely time chatting with you. I'm Deb McBride. This is the Golden Astrologer Podcast. Keep your chin up. Get through these aspects this week. It's an intense week. The theme is to stay focused, stay positive, stay grounded, and trust your intuition and your guidance, your real guidance. So those are the big things to do this week. And I will be back next week with more stories and more events and more astrology. My website is thegoldenastrologer.com. My Instagram is The Golden Astrologer, where I leave videos about our astrology going on, and there's going to be a lot of information this week. And there is also my Twitter, which is @DebAstrology. You can book a session with me at my website. Just click on Book Online, and you can find the session you need. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you a pleasant and powerful week. Think of this as a powerful week, and you're going to be just fine. Have a great week. Gratitude to everyone.